and welcome to the Soccernomics podcast. My name's George Lyons, and every week I'll be joined by special guests from all over the footballing world, along with our team of expert journalists, to discuss all the economical, financial, legal, and business matters behind the beautiful game that we all love. If you'd like to know what goes on behind the scenes of your football club, or another football club, or just generally like to get to know the ins and outs of the football economy as a whole, feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify so you can listen to our podcast each week. The way the podcast works is very, very simple. Essentially, what happens is every single week I'm joined by a Soccernomics team member, and what we do is we discuss in depth a topic that they have written an article about. That article you can read on our website, soccernomics.net, along with all of our other articles that our expert team of journalists have written. Basically, it just gives us another point of view to discuss this topic in depth, but I would highly recommend that you check out the articles because they are so well written and it's just a different point of view. So if you like reading, definitely check out the articles, but for easy listening, check out the podcast. Today I was joined by Cameron Basnek. He was on our previous podcast, but today he is back because this article is actually written by me. And I couldn't talk to myself because that would be boring, and also I think I would go mad. But yeah, basically what this topic was on was the Wrexham AFC takeover. If you didn't know about the takeover, essentially what's happened is Hollywood actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney have taken over Wrexham AFC, a fifth-tier football club in the English Football League system. They are actually a Welsh football team. Now, this move, at first glance, doesn't make a lot of sense. It's pretty surprising, but it has obviously attracted a lot of media attention. Unfortunately, there's not a lot out there to explain why they did this, and there's no apparent sentimental value towards this business aspect. But I can assure you there is a lot to it, and it definitely looks to be a business prospect, a business motivation why they've got involved with Wrexham. It's very, very interesting. We break it down. You can obviously read this article on our website. But I hope you enjoy, guys. It's very, very insightful, and I hope you get a lot out of it. All right, I'm going to stop talking now, but thank you so much in advance for listening, and please subscribe. All right, bye. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Soccernomics podcast. Today, I'm joined once again by a familiar face, Cameron. Hey, mate.
How are we?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
That's good. That's good. We've got him. We're very lucky. We've got him on twice in a row. Mainly because I asked him 3 a.m. on a Friday night if he wanted to film on a Sunday.
Yeah, I was drunk. I said, yeah, you know.
So was I. The best plans are always the last minute ones when you absolutely paro. So thanks for coming in so late notice. Today we're going to be talking about something that's pretty big in the news, and it's actually my article, which is why I've got Cameron on again as well, because I need someone to talk to. I can't talk to myself.
I reckon you could.
I mean, I definitely talk to myself. I probably shouldn't. That'd be very worrying. But yeah, we're talking about basically the Wrexham takeover. So Wrexham AFC recently got bought out. Well, not really bought out, we'll say why, but they got bought out by Ryan Reynolds, who's a very familiar household name, and Rob McElhenney, who is also very, very famous, just not quite as famous as Ryan Reynolds, so he's sort of in the shadow, isn't he, a bit? Yeah, so there's been a lot of news about it. Obviously, it's come out of nowhere. These two guys in Hollywood, why they're buying a football club, never mind the fifth tier, an English, not English, Welsh.
Yeah.
Welsh football club, like, no real ties, but no one really looked into it and why they're actually doing it, because I feel like it's from a business perspective. So I did a bit of research, and it actually sounds like a really good investment. So we're going to be talking about the economics behind it. First of all, Wrexham, bit of a background. Actually, no, you know what? Yes, Wrexham. Yes, I was like, Wrexham, they're from North Wales. They are from North Wales. Yes. They are the third oldest football team in the world. I don't know who's second. I know Sheffield FC is the oldest.
Really?
Yeah, Sheffield FC.
Wow.
Yeah, because one day... you don't even know this, do you? So one day I want to buy Sheffield FC.
Really? Once Soccernomics goes off?
Once Soccernomics goes off and I'm a big millionaire, I want to buy Sheffield FC.
Fair enough.
And just... Because they're in like the 9th tier.
Aren't you from Sheffield?
Yeah.
Ah.
That's why. So it just makes sense. It's close to home. They've got a very marketable product of being the oldest football team in the world.
Exactly.
And like, I just feel like you could just do so many things that would work with that, like even just something as simple as the kits. Do you know those kits that have the lace?
Yeah.
Man, like you could do things like that with them, and it would just be so marketable.
Like the bard collar, like medieval bards. I always think of.
Yeah, that'd be so
Shrek.
sick. Yeah, Shrek. Get out of my swamp. No, it's not. That's what are you doing in my swamp? Yeah, so that's what I want to do. But yeah, Wrexham are the third oldest football team in the world, which is obviously another very, very marketable sort of side of it. They are obviously the oldest in Wales, and it's very interesting, their sort of geography, especially in the football world.
Well, because is it one of four or one of three Welsh clubs that play in the English system?
Yeah,
one of four.
One of four. There used to be five, but the fifth one, I've forgotten what they're called, but they recently left because they were like seriously struggling financially, which football lower down the leagues it generally is. So if you're having to travel to a different country every single week, that's kind of difficult.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah, but the other teams are obviously Cardiff City, Swansea City, and Newport County. Yeah, all playing in the league.
Yeah,
Wrexham,
exactly.
Yeah, Wrexham, arguably the biggest out of all of them, playing the fifth tier of English football in the Vanarama National League. They are generally seen as a sleeping giant in the National League because they've got so much rich history.
And they've had a fair bit of success, haven't they? Playing in Europe, I believe.
Past. They were actually European regulars. Because back in the day, not even that far, not even that long ago, but even though they were playing in the English football system, they'd still compete in the Welsh Cup.
Ah, okay.
So they'd win that quite regularly.
Yeah.
And back when there was the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yes, that was the one.
Yeah, they'd get a spot into Europe every single year, pretty much, playing against these giants, and they had a fair bit of success. I think the furthest they got was like quarterfinals.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Played against the likes of like Juventus. They actually famously beat Porto in a two legs. Yeah, and like it was actually quite recent as well. Like crazy. So yeah, some massive stories for.
And it's weird because no one really knows about that. Like up until now, when this all came out, they're not in FIFA, so no one's ever heard of them probably.
Exactly. Yeah. Literally, not many people like know about Wrexham anymore. I remember when I was growing up, they were like League Two. And I didn't even realise they were Welsh. I just thought, wow, this is a weird ass name, like Wrexham. Doesn't sound so nice. It sounds as like moist. You know what I mean? It's one of those words.
Doesn't roll off the tongue very nicely.
No, it doesn't. It's a bit cringe-worthy. But yeah, like they're pretty cool. But they've obviously been struggling, and I had a bit of a look into like why they've been sort of like dropping down, because it's like they're actually quite a big club in England, and the reason being is just because of mismanagement from the previous owners.
Weren't they? They were obviously before Reynolds and how do you pronounce his name?
McElhenney.
McElhenney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird name.
My local correspondent for the UK.
That's it.
Before they took over, it was owned by the Supporters Trust, wasn't it, or run by them? But before they took over, because they were going down the toilet, so to speak. Yeah.
It was seriously bad. Like the basically the owners before the owners that was the Supporters Trust, they just leveraged the club with heaps of debt. Just debts on debts, weren't paying them back. It was just accumulating. The club was gonna go bankrupt and liquidated, and like fuck, that couldn't have happened. So fortunately, this was before football got quite expensive to get into. The Supporters Trust, which is just generally supporters all coming together, bought them out, which saved the club. And they are actually a very well run club, but obviously supporters can only do so much, and it's only good enough for sort of National League level. They even finished, I think it was like 20th place last season in National League, so they weren't doing so great. But they're a very well run club, an awesome club. They've got the oldest still played international stadium in the world.
Was it the racing course ground, isn't it?
Yeah, the race course ground, and it's a very nice stadium.
Like I've heard.
We'll get into that in a minute in about the economics behind the actual deal and why it makes sense. But it's a very, very big ground, especially for the level that they play in, and it's a nice ground. And obviously, again, it's got that another marketing side of things.
It's got the prestige and stuff. And
yeah, definitely.
One thing I really found interesting, though, was obviously you hear Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
Yeah, getting it. Good. Good job.
They buy Wrexham, and you're like, wow. maybe the other bloke I don't know, Rob McElhenney, maybe he's, from the local area. But no, they've got no personal ties to the region, which is obviously why the initial assumption is it's a business deal. Like, it's for business reasons.
Yep.
While you want to buy, Sheffield FC because you're from Sheffield.
Yep.
They got no real ties to it.
Yeah, no sentimental.
Which is what really jumped out at me at first. Was thinking, wow, very random.
It's so random. When I found out about it, I was like,
really?
What? Like, this can't be right. I had to look up. Sure enough, yeah, it's real. There's no obvious, even when you look into it, there's no reason, like sentimental reason why they bought this. No, none of their family's from Wales. Not like close family anyway. It's just so strange, and obviously they're not really big supporters of football. Like Ryan Reynolds, I don't think really follows football at all. I could be wrong. But
I do know it is quite a bit of a trend, especially American celebrities sort of buying into football clubs like LeBron James, Liverpool.
Yeah.
I read Natalie Portman bought her own women's team.
Really?
I can't remember the exact name. It was like something like City of Angels FC or something like that.
I think you're right. That does ring a bell.
But it's quite a popular thing, and obviously you see a lot of the clubs marketing when a big US star comes over and goes to the game. They get him with the shirt, little signature like that. And,
nice little plug, isn't it? But yeah, it's very, very, very strange. But it's not. It's purely from a business perspective. I feel like, which again, there's not a lot of articles that are talking about that. But when you delve down into it, it makes so much sense. So pretty much, like I said, it's becoming a huge trend even to just invest in football these days.
Exactly.
And a lot of Americans are doing so.
With all the money in football at the moment, you look at. Remember, my mate actually was telling me about comparing League One, or sorry, not League One, Ligue 1, the French league, to the Premier League, and how PSG, how they win it every year almost. They receive less in prize money for winning the French league than the bottom place Premier League team will get from being relegated.
That's so weird. So weird. It's just money.
So champions of France get less than relegation teams in England.
Like, where's the logic in that? But then again, it's like,
it's just the size of the game, the investment, especially in the Premier League. It's so commercial.
Huge. Like, it's such a huge drop as well, going from Premier League to Championship.
Exactly. And it makes you question, like, why would they buy someone in the fifth tier?
Yeah. What's the motivation behind that? There's not a lot of revenue that gets created from National League. In fact, it's so minimum. I did have a quick look. Did I have it down here? No, I didn't. Oh, it's on another article that I'm talking about how National League teams are trying to approach promotion in the modern game because the gap is just increasing between the league and the non-league. And it's like, well, what do you do? I'm not going to get into that because that's a huge tangent. But basically, the first thing is Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. They got accepted by the Supporters Trust, with so many votes. I think it was 97% in favour.
Pretty clear majority.
Yeah. And this was their quote. They said they want to make Wrexham a global force. Obviously, they're not going to be
ambitious.
Very, very ambitious. I'm not going to say it's impossible because we've seen stranger things, but they don't mean it as in we're going to be world beaters. It means as in we're going to bring you guys back to where you belong, because they did generally play second, third division. Quite a lot. They never really played top division, but they were a regular league team. They were a big team. Before obviously financial ruin and all that sort of stuff. In terms of why they've actually gone for Wrexham, there's a few things, but in terms of the actual fact that it's a fan-owned club, they haven't actually bought it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's fan-owned, it can just be given to you. So they just acquired Wrexham AFC and all of their assets.
Yeah, okay.
So all of a sudden, it's cost them zero money to acquire a football club with players who are assets, a stadium, a very nice stadium, marketable stadium, and
the brand as well.
The brand, yeah. So to start off with, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? You can only do better, really, unless your club's in terrible situation where you have to invest a lot of money into like I said, renovation and stuff like that. But it's a good team. Like I said, it was a very well run club anyway, with the supporters' trust. So the actual stadium is really, really nice. I think they recently did like renovations on one of their stands, and it's like, yeah, so it's actually like probably the nicest stadium in. Well, actually, Notts County has got a pretty nice stadium too.
Yeah.
But it's one of the best stadiums in non-league. So to be able to acquire that for no money, good start. Makes sense why they would do that. Why they would think about the 5th tier, potential for growth, isn't it? Yeah.
Because they're based in the north of Wales, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
And the other 3 Welsh teams that are in the English setup, they're all in the south.
Yep.
Am I correct?
Yep, very true.
Which means that they've got a very large catchment area for fans. So obviously, most people would support their local team. But if your local team's in the 15th, division, whatever, it's on the very bottom.
Yeah.
You might also support a big team. You might, maybe if you're in London and your local team is,
let's say Dulwich Hamlet.
Sure, never heard of them.
They wear pink. They're very famous.
Very nice. Well, maybe support them, but you want to support someone in the Premier League because you want to be involved. So maybe you support Chelsea or Arsenal or something like that, depending on obviously where you are. But so there's quite a big room for growth because I believe it's 1 million people they reckon.
Yeah. So think about it like this: like Wrexham are the only team in the north of an entire country. That's a huge catchment area, and so
I'm assuming that sort of when you say that, it's not that there are no other football clubs. Is that they're the only team of a certain stature?
They're the only North Welsh team that play in the English league system.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
So, like, the level of football in the Welsh league is not great. Like, what's the
not really comparable.
Yeah, not comparable, or it's not got the same pool. So if they can have a football club that people can resonate to and want to go and support, it makes sense. Like that's like you said, 1 million. It works out to be about 1 million people, that catchment area of fans,
and that's huge. Like,
yeah, that is massive because, like, you think about it, in England there is so many football teams.
Exactly.
Like there's thousands of football teams in our league system. Like
every other game is a London derby, pretty much.
Pretty much. It goes down so many times, and like you said, there's little room for growth, even for smaller teams to try and build up, because the chances are there's a bigger team next year. Like
exactly.
It's just like it's a capitalistic sort of view in it. Like, yes, there's a football team, let's say like I said, Dulwich Hamlet, like that can get bigger and bigger, but you can only go as big as the next bigger team. People usually support.
And it's really hard
Chelsea
for the smaller clubs as well, I would think, because if you don't come, like if your family aren't a club, like your family aren't your Dulwich Hamlet family, like they've always supported that.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to choose them. You'll probably choose a bit more, you would probably enjoy going to a high level club. So unless you've got your diehard supporters and, they indoctrinate their kids to love that one team.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to grow too much.
No, not at all. It's very, growth in English football in particular is very, very difficult, and it's mainly because of the geography.
Yeah.
Even myself, like I'm not actually from Sheffield. I'm from Rotherham.
Okay, yeah.
My local team is Rotherham United. Love them. They're great. But I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, exactly.
That's mainly because they're a bigger club. Like that's it. Like they have the pull. Rotherham's they've never played in the top division. We were very, very close.
Never say never.
Never say never. It's gonna happen one day. Like Paul Warren's actually great. I don't know. No, it's never gonna happen. We don't have the money. we can't even buy players. But we're overachieving as a football club at the moment. Hopefully one day we'll make it. But off topic. Like it's normal for you to have a second, your local team as your second team. Whereas this with Wrexham, they've got an entire 1 million people, which is huge for that level of being able to be like, yeah, this is my local club. Let's make it a thing. Like,
and not to mention they've got obviously a lot more room to grow in terms of where they can play. I'm assuming the Welsh First Division. I wouldn't even know what it's called. I couldn't name you a single player or team in that.
I know a little bit about it. I've forgotten what the Welsh. It's just called the Welsh Premier League, I think.
Yeah. But you compare that to the English, league system.
Yeah.
All the way up to the Premier League. Obviously, if they get there, amazing. But even the Championship, that's still a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah. It's just got such a completely different pull. And it's not even just thinking about the fans side of things, it's also a catchment area for players as well to bring in the youth system. So if you can have an own unrivaled area for catchment of players and fans, like that instantly puts you at a huge advantage. So it's a very, very smart sort of way of looking at it when you look at opportunity for growth in a business sense, because it's like a cycle, isn't it? Like if you have more people supporting, there's more money coming into the club. There's more money into the club. You can reinvest that back into the club. That will keep going and going and going. Knock-on effects. If you have success, it happens that you build a better supporter base. That's just like what happened. That's what happens with Leicester. You know,
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So it's very, very interesting. It's still like a little bit weird in the fact that why Wrexham, because there's only so far that they can go with it, because eventually it's going to get to a point where it's like, okay, we're not bigger than Cardiff or something like that, or Swansea, because they've got that pedigree.
That's where I think, from what I've read with the two's plans for it, it does seem quite interesting, because obviously I would compare this most likely to Salford City with their takeover from the class of 92 players. So you know, Skulls. My Man United mate's going to kill me, but Skulls, you know, Nevilles, Nicky Butt, I think as well, is it?
Yeah. Nicky Butt, David Beckham,
and how so they got an outside investor to help, you know, funneling money into the club. Yeah. Whereas these two are putting up, I believe it's 2 million of their own money into the club.
Yeah.
As like an initial, obviously, investment, they might put more in, but that's what they're planning to spend, I think. And there's talks of a documentary style, show, which obviously is similar to the class of 92. But I think the way they're sort of going about it is they're not just trying to pump money in, buy good players, win the league. They're trying to expand the club commercially first. Yep. And, leverage that million plus catchment area of fans, get the support, because that's how you get a club being financially stable. And obviously with financial fair play, whatever, slither of that remains at the moment. Yeah. You need that revenue to grow. You can't just, pump 100 million in there. If not, they probably have 100 million to spend on this, but
that would be crazy. That would be crazy.
But yeah, they have to get the revenue up. They have to get the club being self-sustainable, and that's going to be I feel like that's the way they'd have to do it. They couldn't just say, we're going to buy Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, it's not
$2 billion a year or something like.
Yeah, this isn't that kind of takeover. It's not one where it's like we're rich overnight. Yeah. It's not a Man City moment. It's more of a, okay, let's get you guys back to where you should be. The way we're going to have to do it is with smart investments. And what a great way to do it, them creating a, like I said, the Netflix-style documentary, because that not only provides exposure to an audience who wouldn't normally be exposed to Wrexham. That's the same thing with the Hollywood effect of, wow, Ryan Reynolds. I love Ryan Reynolds.
Exactly.
He's bought this football club. Hey, I'll support that football club.
Exactly.
Yeah, things like that. And that's creating revenue. So all the revenue that will be made from the documentary will go to the club, which is so self-sustainable. And it's timeless.
I said another big sort of trend at the moment is football documentaries.
It is.
Your Man City and your Spurs one on Amazon Prime. Yeah. Which are very good.
I'm still yet to watch it.
Even as an Arsenal fan, the Spurs one was pretty good, I must say. Yeah. Especially because they weren't doing too well at the start. The first episode was salivating at them, just losing every game. It was great.
Oh man, I feel like it would be so intense, like, because if you're filming every single moment for a whole year, that goes on a football club, and you're putting it inside like how many episodes is it, like?
I think it's like about 8. Yeah,
that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of content.
Pochettino's start to the season was condensed to the first episode.
Oh my god, jeez, yeah. So that'd be like real intense. Like you'd have just good bits.
I do wonder though if they were like, if documentary does come through, whether it will be like a I think sort of All or Nothing is the series Amazon had, but whether it would be like that, where it's more about the football side and the results and a little bit behind the scenes. Yeah. Or whether it would be more like the Class of 92 documentary, where it was more about the owners. Yeah. And, their side of it.
I think it would be more like that.
I think that'd be more interesting as well, because obviously, fifth tier English football probably isn't quite comparable to Pep Guardiola's tiki-taka.
No, just a little bit different. Hey, completely different brands. But that's the niche, innit? That's
exactly.
The pull. If every documentary was the same, you wouldn't watch it, would you?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I did really find funny, the two seem very committed to really involving the fans and keeping it as a sort of, fan type club.
Yeah.
Did you see the announcement video?
It was hilarious. It is hilarious.
They did like an announcement video. The club put it up, and it's like, oh, here's a word from our new owners, and it was the Rob just going to read it.
Rob McElhenney.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds doing an advertisement for the club's main sponsor, which is a Welsh trailer company.
Yeah.
And it's great. They're just so serious about it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, why? Well, hey, Rob, why are we talking about this trailer company? Well, Ryan, that's because we've just bought Wrexham United.
It was hilarious. Like, Evo Williams. And it's like, what the fuck have I got into? That is like, it's just the best way to just kick it off, because straight away that's just like this is gonna be great. It's gonna be interesting.
It would also get people, especially in the States, that are fans of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
Yeah, you're getting there. Yeah.
They'll see that and be like, oh, like, it's kind of funny. What's this about? What's Wrexham United? Like, what is a Wrexham?
Yeah, what is a Wrexham? What a weird name. Let's look it up. Oh, it's in Wales. Oh, cool. Didn't know Wales was a country.
Probably not.
So many people. No, dead set. So many people don't realise Wales is a country.
Yeah.
They're just like, I thought Wales was part of England. No, definitely not. But yeah, like it's just so cool, because it's, again, it appeals to a wide audience, because like, Ryan Reynolds, like, wowee.
Exactly. Deadpool.
I
can't wait for the first game they play when they're officially in charge and stuff, and the amount of Deadpool masks you're going to see, surely.
Dead set. It'll be Deadpool mask. That'll be their new mascot, surely.
Yeah. Imagine if they signed Aubameyang and he scores, and instead of bringing up the Batman Deadpool mask.
That'd be so good. Imagine
might be able to sign him on his current form.
Hey, you never know. He's getting on a bit, so maybe at the old age of like 40,
maybe
might come out for a game. But yeah, it's very, very cool, and I can only imagine that they're not just dumb Hollywood actors. Like these guys are businessmen. They've got a
very strong plan as well.
Yeah, they've dead set plan of, okay, we're going to do this right, because why would you get into it if you're not?
Exactly. And as I said before, the club was pretty well run before. Obviously, it was sort of reaching its limit of how much they could do.
Yeah.
But the supporters' trust obviously wouldn't hand it over to them if they weren't confident in what they were going to do. So they would have obviously had to lay out what their plan was for the club, what they planned to do in the future, and how they were going to help the club succeed. And obviously, the supporters' trust agreed overwhelmingly. As you said.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is, I'm sure, no small feat.
No, it's not no small feat. It's no small feat at all. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. There's some more. So obviously, like, that sounds like a very sound investment in terms of, like, okay, we know how we're going to generate revenue to make this sustainable. It's a good structure to start off with. There's actually more to it as well, because when you think about it in sort of an economic side of things, trying to make the most of your resources for minimum cost, right? Even just something as simple as, right, so if we do get successful and we rise up the tiers, what's our stadium? Like, we're going to have to make renovations to the stadium, things like that, or like just simple things like that people don't really think about, like, oh, is that stadium big enough? Because that was what happened with Salford.
Yeah.
They were rapidly rising, but their stadium wasn't up to scratch, and it was very old. Like, it wasn't even a stadium. It was just a pitch with some stands, and like they didn't even really have working toilets. Like, it was messed up, and they realized, fuck, there's actually more to it than just like the team
just playing football.
Yeah, like they ended up having to build a stadium to be able to go higher up in the leagues. So it's not a cheap investment. Like, there's continuing costs. So if you can find a way that doesn't have to do that, that'd be very good. Like, you want to obviously cater for increasing crowds and stuff like that. As I was saying before, the Racehorse Ground, it has the second highest capacity in non-league football.
Is that behind Notts County?
Yep, Notts County, yeah. And Notts County, obviously, giant in football. They're probably maybe they're the second oldest football team.
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. They're also very, very old, and like that. And it's not that far off either. Like,
no. They're probably one of their main rivals, I would think.
Yeah, they're the two biggest clubs.
Yeah,
I dare say. It would be a big derby when they play against each other. And yeah, the Racehorse Ground, not only it's about 15,000 their capacity.
That's not far off Bournemouth, to be fair.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's surprisingly good to see that even if they do increase, like if they do start rising up the levels, like they don't have to think about okay, we're gonna have to invest in infrastructure. And
exactly.
So they've got that side of things. I think even I've got it written down in the article here of like the actual ranking. Yeah, so even the capacity, so their capacity would still be the 6th highest in League Two currently.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. What's that one?
11th highest in League One.
11th highest in League One. And they're not the lowest in Championship by any means, and they definitely don't have the lowest capacity. If they would, like, obviously, just in terms of like in theory, they wouldn't have had the lowest capacity in the Premier League ever. So it's good. It's very promising. So you don't have to instantly think about. Yeah, I don't have to think about infrastructure, which is so expensive, like millions and millions. Yeah. So that's obviously a good thing. And then what was the other thing that I was going to talk about? Oh, completely forgot about the stadium. Huh?
Attendances?
Yes. Average. Oh my God! Thank God you're here. See, I can't talk to myself because I would forget, and then I'd be like, "Oh, do you know what? Forget about it." But yeah, average attendance. So they had the 3rd highest average attendance last season of 4,000, over 4,000, despite finishing 20th place and with the 2nd highest stadium. So it's stadium capacity.
And that just shows you that even though, like, on the pitch they're not doing very well, they've still got the supporters there.
Yeah.
And imagine what the support would be like if they were winning on the pitch.
Yeah. And they were taking advantage of like actually marketing the club and getting people into it.
Exactly.
They're not doing anything really at the moment because, like I said, it's just supporters run. They're just the diehard supporters in Wrexham.
Yeah.
Imagine if you can get everyone in. Like, it should be easy to sell out.
You think so? Yeah.
With a little bit of success, become a league team. Just that good marketing that once people start watching the show.
And especially with I know Reynolds and Rob are very keen to come over and watch as many games as they can. They've been very active on Twitter, about saying how they want to be, very involved. And yeah, really like that. If you could get Ryan Reynolds to a game,
oh, it'd be so good.
You've got instant free press coverage from the States probably as well.
Yeah.
And that'll make news again,
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds goes to his first Welsh goal, first game for Wrexham, and it'd be a massive deal. Like,
it'd be huge. It would be so good for the community.
And obviously they're very marketable themselves. Like they can use themselves for advertising, for free pretty much. And
yeah, definitely.
That's a major boost, and a major competitive advantage on anyone else in the 5th tier.
Yeah.
Even really up into the Championship. Like,
yeah.
You're not really going to see many football clubs, shelling out that amount of money that would cost to get, a Ryan Reynolds to do an ad for their, trailer company.
It's so cool. It's just very, very promising. Like, and it makes sense. Like, it's low cost. Not that cost is everything. Like, you don't want to cut costs, but if you can avoid having to do it and it makes sense and you've got a good growth plan and all that sort of stuff, man, it makes sense. So yeah, they've got a very loyal fan base. That also means even thinking about the average attendance, just even thinking about it in terms of a business sense, that's a very stable revenue stream that you've already built on. You don't have to create a fan base out of nowhere, which is what Salford had to do. There was no fans.
Yeah.
It was like the average attendance was like less than 50. So they had to try and get people involved. They didn't have a revenue stream. It was just costs like constant outflow.
And that's probably why they had to go with the outside investor.
Yeah.
Obviously these guys aren't you're not like your Premier League owners where they're worth, multiple billions of dollars.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to afford to just put in their own money to that extent.
Yeah.
Which is why obviously, developing the revenue streams of, match day revenue, ticket sales, merchandise sales, commercial deals with the net, the documentary potentially.
Yeah.
That's just going to be huge.
Yeah. It's very exciting. I can't stress enough how like good of an investment this actually is. And it works for both sides. Like, obviously Wrexham have got just like, it's not luck. It is obviously luck, but it's more like this couldn't have happened to a better team. Like, they've been crying out for something like this, and it feels like it's actually gonna like match perfectly. Who would have thought that Ryan Reynolds would have been a perfect fit for Wrexham AFC? But on the other side, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, like it seems like it's a good getaway. It's a good side business. It's a good way for them to even just outsource to another country. Like it's getting exposed to another country. Like obviously they're worldwide famous and all that sort of stuff, but it's just good to just branch into some other revenue stream.
Exactly.
Football's growing as a sport exponentially in terms of business too. It can be very, very lucrative. So if you can jump on that wagon very, very early without having to pay for it.
Exactly. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. All this has come at zero cost for them. I'm sure there's probably like other like little costs here and there for like stamp duty. Would there be like stamp duties and shit like that?
I feel that's an Australian thing. I'm not too sure, but
is it? I don't know. I'm no idea. Is stamp duty only Australian?
I have a feeling it might. Probably in the form we have it. There's obviously other.
Yeah, there would be
some tax involved,
like fees and stuff like that. Yeah, like obviously, I don't feel like Ryan Reynolds would have reached out to Wrexham and been like, "Hey, can I buy you guys?" It would have been something different, but it's very cool. There was. Did you see? Also, there was the tweet that a lady. Like,
was this like 8 years ago? Yeah, it was like, oh, maybe we'll see you one day in Wrexham, and he finally replied saying, well, "You never know."
you never know. And then he said, "I've been waiting 8 years to say this, to reply to this." And it was like, yeah, that's crazy. But I know for a fact that he was not thinking about buying Wrexham 8 years ago. This is just a mad coincidence, but very, very cool. And now you can see why, when you break it down, why this deal makes sense. Like I said, no costs, massive room for growth, potential for revenue streams everywhere, and it's good for the community. It's good for them as well. It'll only boost their reputation.
Not to mention, if it does all go pretty sour, and the club is destroyed, he lives in America.
Yeah, yeah, which is great. It's like it's low risk. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. So you don't have to really worry about it. So it's like, what else can you say about it? It's just like it's amazing how no one's picked this up earlier. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, that's the thing. I feel like not many people would think that there is that much opportunity in such a lower league team. You think, right, I want to buy a football club for business. Well, I need to buy a football club of reasonable stature. Maybe look at the championship, or something like that. Yeah, you wouldn't go to the 5th tier.
You wouldn't. But because football has grown in terms of like how the growth of their worth and all that sort of stuff, like it's actually very expensive to buy even a championship team these days.
Yeah, exactly.
And because championship is so volatile at the moment, like so many championship clubs, just to remain competitive, because there's so much competition to try and get into the Premier League, that they're all running at a huge loss, huge risk compared to return. If you can get that return, it's great, but even then it's like, okay, now we have to stay there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
it's such
the amount of money, it's mainly coming from the Premier League though. Like there's the TV deals, the TV deal they've got there is ridiculous. Yeah, it's like £100 million for getting relegated.
Yeah, £100 million. Yeah.
And they've got them for free. Like, so if you think about it, say in 10, 15 years time, they finally get to the Premier League. Say they don't win a single game. They concede 1,000 goals. They're the worst team in Premier League history. Yeah. They still get a parachute payment of £100+ million. Yeah,
that's it. And then they get like three payments for you. Like,
and you think of the return on investment for that from a club that they would have only put in, say a couple million.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that they'll be the kind of team that would be like, we're just going to buy players.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I can imagine that they'll invest in the youth system, making sure that the youth system's great.
And like Wales has produced some pretty good players over the years. Obviously,
definitely.
Gareth Bale, Aaron
Ramsey,
Joe Ledley,
the bearded legend. They've got a great system. It's mainly from Swansea, isn't it? Really, Swansea's got a great youth system. And that's why they're still competitive, even though they're not actually a very well-run club. Because they've got the foundations that they built prior. So if they can do it better, that'd be really good. It's just a solid investment, and I keep saying solid investment. It's just because it is. It's just like I said. It's just amazing that no one's picked this up earlier. Because it doesn't have to be a big club for it to be.
It really is that diamond in the rough opportunity.
100%, because it is a difference of what people define as success. Success doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win trophies. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in the Premier League and playing in Europe. Success is taking a football club, and there's growth.
Exactly.
Growth of any kind. So getting them to National League and getting them as a mainstay in maybe second, third division. Yeah. that's success in their eyes and in the supporters' eyes as well.
Well, the way I compare it to the club that I run, we only started. We had a second season this year. First season we weren't. We were a little bit, but we weren't really concerned about winning the league and winning every game.
Yeah,
almost did, but
only take W's.
Oh, mate.
Almost gets a W.
Class. But yeah, no, we were just more concerned with surviving.
Yeah.
Like before, when we got to the first game, I was so proud. I was thinking, crap, we've actually got here.
Yeah.
Like all the planning, all the work behind the scenes, actually getting 20 blokes to come to the same pitch at the same time.
Yeah.
Logistical
nightmare. Thing. The hardest thing, yeah.
And so yeah, the fact that we even got through the first year and we had money, we weren't in debt,
Yeah.
We had money in the bank still.
Yeah.
Was incredible. And the fact that, we came third and almost won the league and got promoted. We were 2 points off winning the league, I think it was, or 3 points, and one off promotion.
Oh, no.
It was crazy. That was just cherry on top.
Yeah, that's wicked. It's such a good feeling, isn't it? When you know that your hard work is paying off.
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to win things.
So I'm sure if in 5 years' time they're in League 2 and stable in that league, they're not fighting for they're lower mid-table. Yeah. I'm sure the supporters will be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, they'll be so happy.
And I'm sure Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney will be very happy with that.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I can't say it's stressing enough. I hope it sort of made sense and cleared things up a bit, because I know that a lot of articles haven't really dumbed it down a bit.
They're really just talking about, holy crap,
they've done
famous Hollywood people by Welsh club.
Yeah, and it's even with the interview of the chairman or whatever of Wrexham, there was TV interviews and they just said, so why did they do it? And all he says is, well, why not? And then they leave it at that, and they're like, well, I guess we'll never know. And it's like, look at the research, just look at it. It makes so much sense. This is why they're doing it. All right, they're not doing it for fun. Obviously, they are doing it for fun on the side of it from their own life, but it's generally for investment. So I can only see it appreciating in value, especially when they bought it for nothing. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for coming on, Cameron.
Oh, good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man.
2 from 2.
2 from 2. I know. Let's find out who's on next week. I don't know who's going to be on next week. It's probably going to be Kyron or Mark, because they both sent me through their articles. By the time this is up, the article will be up as well. It'll be Kyron's one, which is a very, very good read as well. And yeah, pretty much, if you haven't already, guys, I can't stress enough, we need to grow this channel as much as possible. We can't do it without you guys. All those are watching, most of our watchers and viewers aren't actually subscribed to our channel. So yeah, I know.
Shame.
Doing the dirty on us, man. So yeah, we'd really appreciate it if you do subscribe to our channel. We also have our Instagram page, which is Soccernomics HQ. Subscribe to us on that. You're more than welcome to subscribe to us as well, our personal accounts. I'll put that in the link below, and LinkedIn too, if you want to hit us up. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you very soon.